welcome back to episode 2 of Marital Tiffs, where we invite you into our marriage to debate the not-so-important topics, discuss each other, and more. I'm your host, Tim.
I'm Karen.
And we are a couple of married geeks who often get very passionate when we disagree about the super important topics like our favorite TV shows, personality traits, and random quizzes I'm expected to pay attention to while driving. So, Karen, what are we talking about tonight?
Today, we are doing the husband tag, which is a series of questions that you can give really any partner. So you can answer some, I can answer some, depending on time. This might be a two-parter. But basically, it's just questions about us and our relationship and me, of course. And just testing, because, like, who doesn't love testing their spouse? And that's, like, a totally healthy, reasonable thing to do.
You know, we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary, and she's just trying to make sure that I'm paying attention.
Listen, I want to know that my investment is working out, okay? We all want somebody who knows what's going on. So this is a good way to test that. It's called the husband tag, but it can be answered by either. And to be fair, I will answer some also, so you can make sure that, you know, I'm paying attention to you too, I guess. Mm-hmm. So why don't we get started?
All right. What's the first question here?
First question is, how and where did we meet?
Oh, well, that's a fun one. That's an easy softball question. I used to work at a vape shop. And she walked into my store with her sister and her sister's boyfriend at the time, who was a customer of ours. And the moment she walked into the store, the first thing that I noticed was the shirt she was wearing.
Not my boobs.
No,
just the shirt.
It was clearly the shirt. She had on a maroon shirt that said Whedon Assemble. It had a picture of Joss Whedon on it. And it had silhouettes of the various Joss Whedon properties. You know, it had the B for Buffy. It had an angel.
Doctor Who.
It had the hat from Firefly. It had, you said Doctor Who, but you meant the hammer from Dr. Horrible.
Oh my God! Wow, I'm a bad geek.
Yeah,
that was terrible.
It had the beds from Dollhouse on there, and obviously Whedon Assemble is a reference to the fact that he directed the Avengers Assemble,
and the Cabin from Cabin in the Woods,
That shirt, 5.5 years later, is now framed and hanging by our bed. She gave it to me as a wedding gift.
It was the reason why our relationship started, essentially. Wait, but you're missing the best part. I guess that's not how we met, but that's...
Well, yeah, and then I was being the consummate professional and not, expressing interest. Clearly, I could tell that her and her sister were giggling and whispering back and forth, talking about
giggling.
Me.
I was not giggling.
You were. The same way you and your sister still do.
We do not.
But I was clearly noticing this, but I didn't make any moves because I'm the consummate professional. I'm not trying to pick up women while I'm working. And so I help her sister's boyfriend, and she leaves. And that's, to me, the last I hear from her. But about 10 minutes later, she comes running back in.
I did not run back
scuttle.
in.
She scuttled back in, didn't say a word to me, left a piece of paper in front of me that said Whedon Assemble and her phone number that I kept in my wallet for probably 2 years. Carried it around with me every day for 2 years. Until we had an on-again, off-again relationship for a while. Until we were officially together, and I finally got rid of it.
Wow.
But yeah, that's the story of how we met.
You can tell that I did that all the time, right? That I left my number for people, given that I, ran out immediately as soon as I...
Didn't say a word.
I was so embarrassed. But thank God I did, because you were prepared to let me walk right out the door and out your life. So
very, very true, and I would have regretted it.
Okay, so the next question is a little bit like that. What was your first impression of me?
I love the fact that she was a geek. If you can't tell, Joss Whedon is one of my favorite directors, and creators. I had at the time hadn't seen Buffy, but Firefly, Dr. Horrible, and Dollhouse were high on my list of shows.
We corrected it, obviously, with him watching Buffy. We actually just finished our rewatch for like the 5th time.
It's like the 3rd time I've seen it now. So yeah, that was my first impression.
You didn't, not that I was like pretty, nothing like that.
I mean, I don't go for looks first. I go for personality.
All right, so I'm ugly.
I didn't say that. Don't you put those words in my face or in my mouth.
All right, this next one is a little bit contested between us, but we think we've agreed over the years. How and when was our first date?
Our first date was at Carolina Ale House.
Yes, finally you agree.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
You're the one who thinks it was Red Lobster.
No. It was the opposite. I said it was the Ale House.
She changes her answers to
Okay,
make her feel better. But yeah.
What happened was when Tim texted me, he texted me later that day, by the way.
I texted her like, I maybe waited an hour.
For people who were curious. We wanted to meet up. I was actually going to Europe later that week. Like the day that we met, I was going to Europe like maybe 3 or 4 days later for like 2 weeks. And so I told him that, and he was like, oh, I don't get paid until Friday, so maybe let's not go out until then. And I was like, screw this. I want to see you right now. So as a
And you were leaving.
Yeah, like in a non-date capacity at first anyway, we went to the Ale House, which, side note, is like where I brought all of my first dates back then because it was like good, and like there were some people that I knew there at the time that like would have looked out for me if things went wrong. It was like kind of busy and fun. There was like pool if we got bored and didn't want to talk, whatever. It was just kind of my like staple first date place at the time. So for that reason, maybe let's not call that our first date because you're special, honey.
Oh yeah.
But and then later, I think maybe the next day or the 2 days later, we went to Red Lobster, and we had planned on that being our first date.
Yeah.
So we kind of went back and forth for a while. What was our first date?
No, I always thought it was Ale House that was our first date.
No, you didn't. You thought it was Red Lobster.
That's not true, but okay. What's our next question?
Where was our first kiss, and how was it?
First kiss was in the parking lot of Carolina Ale House.
Yeah, which adds credence to the whole that was our first date.
Yeah. Little bit of background. One of the things that she absolutely loved. At one point, she went to the bathroom. We were sitting at the bar of Carolina Ale House. We were sitting there talking. I picked out a beer. She asked me to pick out a beer for her. At one point, she went to the bathroom, and me, being the smooth guy that I am, decided I'm going to slide my chair just about 3, maybe 4 inches closer to hers, so that our legs are touching as we're talking, and I didn't think she was going to notice, actually.
How did you not think I would notice? Suddenly, our legs were touching.
Yeah, but she called me out on it and thought it was cute.
It was adorable, actually. It was really cute for me. Not so cute if I didn't like you. That probably would have been really creepy, but...
For those who watch How I Met Your Mother, it was totally a Dahmer... What was the other one?
No, Dahmer is the bad one.
Right, but what was the...
Doppler
Dahmer effect?
I don't know. Something.
I don't know. It can't be Doppler because that's Doppler effect.
You're right.
But yeah, where it's really close line between cute and creepy, depending on how the girl feels about you. It wasn't creepy. So.
It was so cute.
Yeah. So that night we kissed in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm. Next question is, when did you meet my family? And I actually don't know the answer to this one, so...
Oh, that would have been... Wasn't it Thanksgiving?
I feel like, yeah. I
think I came over for a Thanksgiving dinner,
like
but it was
4 years ago? It was a little while after you and I met.
It definitely would have been after the on again, off again we went through.
Right.
So it probably would have been a year and a half, or 2 years after we met, I think.
Really?
Because we met in the fall.
Wow,
So it would have been 2 years.
Yeah.
It probably would have been Thanksgiving 2016.
Okay, now I know.
I'm pretty sure it was Thanksgiving at least.
How did you know I was the one? The one, by the way, is in capital letters.
Yeah, so that's another very easy question. It was, if I remember right, it was your birthday, wasn't it?
It was my birthday.
It was her birthday.
If you're talking about what I think you're talking about. It was my 25th birthday.
Her 25th birthday, so that would have been 2015.
Mm-hmm. Don't expose me.
About a year after we had met.
Mm-hmm.
And, we had a great night hanging out and all that. And the next morning, she had come over to play some board games and stuff with my brother and my sister-in-law, and we decided we were going to meet up with her sister and a different boyfriend.
Stop.
I people date. But we decided we were going to go. I think we went to Denny's.
We were just driving around.
For breakfast. We went
for
somewhere for breakfast. We went to Denny's, and then we were just driving around Fayetteville. And the four of us were singing the entire soundtrack to Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. Going back to the way we first met with Dr. Horrible and Joss Whedon. We sang the entire soundtrack from start to finish, harmonizing, taking parts, all of it.
Tim always, even to this day, still sings always the Captain Hammer part.
Well, yeah, because I don't have Neil Patrick Harris's voice.
But, even then, that's what you did. When we were driving around, it was so cute. You were, singing the Captain Hammer part, and I would sing, the Penny part and stuff, and it was just, so fun.
And that was the moment that I knew, was when we sang that entire soundtrack from start to finish.
So the next question is, a little redundant. When and why did you fall in love with me? So I guess
that's the same question.
Yeah, that's redundant. How long have we been together in both our relationship and our marriage?
Well, the marriage is coming up on 2 years.
May the 4th.
May the 4th, because, in case you didn't know, we are geeks and we got married on Star Wars Day intentionally. Together, so we've been...
That's a hard question.
It's really just kind of hard to pin down.
Mm-hmm.
But... officially, we kind of locked in 4 years and a month ago.
Wow, that's really specific.
Maybe give or take a couple of days, because it was March 2016.
How do you know that? Why don't I know that?
How
do you know?
Because I know.
Okay.
I remember series of events.
Tell me after. The next question is, how do you resolve problems?
Oh, that's a fun one. In terms of arguments, usually we start the argument, and then she walks away. I give her 10 minutes, and then I storm back in, and we have the rest of the argument, and then we're done. And then we move on.
Do you time it? 10 minutes?
No, I'm just estimating.
You're like, let me give it a good, between commercials amount of time of a football game?
No.
Pretty much?
No, so realistically what it is she storms off and I proceed to have the entire argument, both sides, in my head.
What?
So that, and usually what that leads to is me drawing the conclusion that I'm just being dumb. Okay, so fine. I go in and fix
I'll go
things.
With that then.
But yeah, usually I just have the that 10 minutes or whatever is usually just me having the argument. She's being unreasonable for this, and I'm being unreasonable, and I'm right, and she's wrong. Well, maybe I'm not. And then that's it.
Okay. I didn't know this. You just internally sit there and you're like, meh, meh, meh.
Pretty much.
Okay, cool. What do you two do for a living?
I am an IT help desk technician for a local utility company here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And you take surveys and user tests and stuff like that for... Basically, she's a online focus group member. Is kind of the best way to put it, is that she takes these tests for companies that are trying out new applications or want to find out information, and she just answers them and makes money that way.
In addition to occasionally transcription or various freelance-y tasks. Oh, this is okay. This is a little philosophical. What key elements make a successful relationship and marriage?
The number one key element, and one that we struggled with for a long time, is understanding the personality of the other person.
What do you mean?
I mean, this is no secret to anybody who knows either of us. You are very much an introvert, and I am an extrovert. And as we talked about in the first episode, if I'm not around other people, at least periodically, I get very irritable. And early on in our relationship, it caused a lot of problems. But the problem is I can't drag Karen to any of those things because she doesn't like to be around people.
That's not true. I like to be around people that I know, but it's very hard for me. I have, I guess, anxiety, about meeting new people and especially alone. So, and Tim does this really cute thing where if I'm going to meet someone for the first time or like hang out with people where inevitably there's new people that I don't know, he'll be like, all right, well, I'm going off by myself to chat with someone and bye. And I hate it. So I guess, yeah, I mean, I love hanging out with people that I know already, but for me, it's a little bit hard to feel safe and things like that with new people.
But it took a long time for us to realize that was the source of many issues. Was, Karen took offense at the fact that I don't recharge my batteries off of just her.
I wouldn't say that I took offense. I would say that, like, we'd have a weekend.
Well, you didn't understand that was the case.
Yeah, like, we'd have a weekend where we would spend the entire weekend at home, like, watching movies or, like, doing projects together, and I'd have a great time.
And honestly, I enjoyed those weekends.
Yeah, of course.
But by the end, I had cabin fever, and I needed to be around people.
And I didn't get it because I was like... We had a great time. Like, what do you mean? Like, why are we fighting right now? And
so going back to the question, the most important thing in a relationship is understanding the personality of the person you're with.
Mm-hmm. And just respecting their needs, I think, to add to your answer a little bit. Like, it's not personal if they need something. And I always say this to everybody else, too, I don't know that it's realistic to get everything that you need from people out of one person. So what I mean by that is, like, not everybody can be, like, one person can't be, I don't know, your friend that you'd go out drinking with, or the friend you'd gossip with, or the person that you'd go shopping with or ask advice, or, things like that. Sometimes you need additional people in your life, whether that's in the form of your family or friends or, like, online companions or something like that, to fill in different roles in your life. Tim is very much into, like, sports and video games, which are two things that I don't really jive with. Like, I'm not...
At all.
Yeah. Like, so it's okay to need people in your life that understand those things and can, talk with you about that and can go and do those things with you. And if I don't fill that role, then that's okay. So that's our little, I guess, marital
that's our marital advice from people who have been married less than 2 years.
Right. We know everything.
On how to have a successful, long-lasting marriage.
Okay, so the next question is confusing me a little bit because it says, places you want to travel, ? Does that mean places I want to travel or places you want to travel?
Oh, I mean, we can talk about both, I guess.
I know where you want to travel.
Well, let's start there.
Okay. You want to go to Darmstadt, Germany.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And the reason for that specifically, like, everybody, like, a lot of people say they want to go to Germany. My last name is Dipple. And years ago, we were watching a documentary around Halloween about Frankenstein's castle. And while we were watching this, we heard the name pop up, Johann Conrad Dipple. And everybody in my family was like, did he just say Dipple? So we actually researched it, and we are related to Johann Conrad Dipple. And if you do some research, he is actually he was an anatomist and an alchemist, and he was the one who inspired Mary Shelley to write the book Frankenstein. So I want to specifically visit Darmstadt, Germany.
You also want to drive Route 66.
Yep. End to end. I want to go up to Chicago, get on old Route 66, drive it all the way down to California, and for all I care, we could turn right around and drive right back.
And you want to see the Northern Lights.
Yes. The Northern Lights, I mean, what's not to love about the Aurora Borealis?
Mm-hmm.
But
Aurora Borealis.
But specifically, I want to see it in a place like Alaska or Iceland,
I want to go to
Greenland,
like Norway.
Somewhere that's like not like, I'm from Michigan. I lived in Michigan for years. I could have driven, a couple 100 miles north and seen it. I want to see it in a different location. For you, the only one I know of is New Zealand. You want to travel to New Zealand because you want to see the filming locations of Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
That's the only travel place I know of that you want to go.
I think I say that now more because when I was really young, that appealed to me a lot. But as I get a little older, like, I would love to be in New Zealand, but the trip to New Zealand from the East Coast of the United States to New Zealand sounds dreadful to me. That sounds horrible. Like, I would hate it.
It's a long trip. Korea was about a 24-hour.
So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some more, I guess, nearby locations. I would love to go to the Galapagos Islands. That's a big one for me. Also, Northern Lights, for sure. I want to go, weirdly enough, to, like, I definitely want to go to Alaska. I think it looks beautiful. But I want to go to Vancouver.
Yes.
A lot.
Yes.
Because I feel like I have no interest in LA, really, but I feel like Canada is like the...
Vancouver is Hollywood North.
Yeah, it's like LA.
Especially if you're into geek television shows, because pretty much all genre TV is filmed in Vancouver because it's cheaper there.
Right.
So pretty much anything sci-fi or fantasy at this point.
I mean, there's other places. There's places I wouldn't turn down. Even domestically, I have interest in going to lots of places, but, we have our whole lives, I guess. But yeah, those are the three for you that have been consistent since I've known you. Next question is, what is my favorite color?
Well, that's a source of many jokes within her family because it changes every 3 weeks. It does not. Please reference the previous episode.
It does not.
The one I know is purple, but there's also like a particular shade, like you love cobalt blue for decorating.
I do.
It all depends on what the context is, but I'm pretty sure, like, if she picked a single color, it would kind of be, it's almost a maroonish purple.
Like a wine red.
Yeah,
color.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people call it like vampire red.
Sure, I don't know. But that's what I know to be your favorite color.
Okay. It's green, by the way.
Since when?
Since we moved into this house, really. Because
this is exactly my point.
That wasn't 3 weeks ago, though. That was like 4 months ago. But yeah, we have like a gorgeous green, luscious backyard, and I love looking out there. And we have spent many wonderful days and nights out on our deck, and so I love green.
I just want to point out that that's the first one I've gotten wrong.
Okay.
And that's not even a fair question.
I've told you before, but that's fine. What is my favorite sports team?
None of them.
That's not true.
Well, okay.
Symbolically, who do I love?
So she loves the Florida Gators.
Yes.
Because she's from Gainesville. If she had to pick a particular favorite sports team, it would probably be the Hufflepuff Quidditch team.
That's fictional.
Yeah. But the only team that she really pulls for actively, and even that's pushing the limits of the term, is the Florida Gators.
Go Gators.
She doesn't really enjoy sports. She'll watch them on occasion with me.
I watched some football with you
watched quite
this
a bit
last
of football
season.
this year.
R.I.P.
Mostly Gators games.
Yeah. What food do I not like? You should know this. I'm gonna be mad if you don't know it. He's looking very confused right now. I
feel like there's probably some obvious answer that I'm.
There's
not
a really
thinking.
obvious answer.
What food does she not like?
Come on. We don't even have it in our house.
Oh, okay. So to be fair, I don't consider it a food. It's a condiment. And the answer is mayonnaise.
Yes, correct.
But mayonnaise isn't a food. I was thinking of like. No, she likes steak, and she likes shrimp, and she likes vegetables. No, neither of us like mayonnaise.
Yeah, mayonnaise is disgusting. But that we're about halfway through here. So I would say there's definitely going to be a part 2.
That sounds like a good place to call it a day on this episode. You can be sure to follow us on all social media at Marital Tiffs, MARITALTIFFS, all one word, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also email us, maritaltiffs@gmail.com. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app and leave us a review and rating. Thanks for listening, and we will see you for part 2 of the husband tag.
Join us for part 2 where I will be in the hot seat this time. So we'll call it the wife tag, I guess.
Have a good night.